Hey everyone, today we're going to look at a few problems with SAT math that involve our understanding of exponents. So this first one here is going to test us on our understanding that when we have a power to another power, such as x to the a to the power of b, that's going to equal x to the power of a times b. Basically, if you have a power to a power, you multiply the two exponents. So x to the 24th can be rewritten as x to the power of 8 to the power of 3 because 8 times 3 is 24. Now you might be asking, how did I get 8 and 3? There are other factors like 6 and 4, 2 and 12. Well, it's because the problem gives us a hint. It tells us that x to the 8th equals 2. So that's why I chose those two factors, x to the 8th to the power of 3. Now I'm going to go ahead and replace x to the 8th with 2. And by substituting that in, I now just have a problem that says 2 to the power of 3. Now be careful, that's not 6. It's actually 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. Now looking at our next problem here, this one definitely looks a lot more complicated. We have this cubic root of f to the 6a times k squared. And although it looks very intimidating, it tests us on kind of a basic concept, which is what do we do when we have roots? So a basic square root of x can be rewritten as x to the 1 over 2, or x to the 1 half. And the rule here is the exponent inside the square root becomes the numerator, whereas the root on the outside of the square root becomes the denominator. So x to the first, that becomes our numerator, and then the square root, which means the second root, becomes our denominator. So for this problem now, when we copy it down, we'll have the cubic root of f to the 6a times k squared. And what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this as f to the 6a times k squared, and we're going to take that entire thing to the 1/3 power. Now, taking from the previous problem, the lesson that we just learned about a power to a power, that means we're going to multiply them. And we're going to remember to distribute that. So f to the 6a times 1/3, which will just be putting that 3 in the denominator, and then k squared times 1/3, which will again be putting that 3 in the denominator. Now we take a look at our answer choices. We see that we don't quite get this exact answer, but it is somewhat comparable as long as we simplify it. And so 6a divided by 3 can be written as just 2a, and then 2/3 is what we already see down there. So answer choice D for us. Now moving on to our last problem in this video, this is probably the most challenging one because it involves taking a concept that we learned in algebra, which is taking the difference of squares. All right, now, the difference of squares is an algebraic identity when we have two perfect squares, here x to the 4th and y to the 4th, and they have to be subtracted from one another. Remembering that difference means subtraction. And the point of difference of squares is recognizing that you can simplify or factor a difference of squares following a basic formula, which is taking the square root of each term. So the square root of x to the 4th is x squared, and the square root of y to the 4th is y squared, and then writing two binomials, one where you add them and one where you subtract them. So the basics here is, and that's going to be x squared, sorry about that. The basics here is understanding a basic pattern that we have to memorize. So you have to memorize what a difference of squares is. But once we do that, we notice they actually give us what x squared minus y squared is. It equals 3. And since they told us that x to the 4th minus y to the 4th equals negative 15, I'm going to plug that into the other side of the equation. And then that should allow me to just find what x squared plus y squared equals. So I'll plug that in down here. And now all I have to do is divide both sides by 3. And then negative 15 divided by 3 gives me negative 5. Oh, at this point I realized I made a small mistake here. Because x squared minus y squared is actually equal to negative 3, not positive 3. So I'm going to go ahead and update that. And then that will give me negative 15 divided by negative 3, which means x squared minus y squared equals positive 5. And that's an important little note just to double check yourself and make sure you didn't overlook anything.